There hadn't been a sound on that street in hours, until a fist pounded against the door like a warning shot. The hallway light flickered on just as the chain lock rattled. On the other side stood a woman, wild-eyed, barefoot, and breathing hard. Her name was Ivy. She didn't scream. But her sister did. "We have to run," Brad said, shoving past the doorway, rain dripping from his hoodie. "Now. No time to pack." The apartment, once calm, neat, untouched since the night's tea, transformed instantly. Shoes kicked aside. Phone unplugged. Wallet snatched. Ivy stood frozen, eyes jumping from the front door to her brother's trembling hands. "What did you do?" she asked, voice flat but cold. Brad didn't answer. Instead, he went to the window and yanked the curtains shut. Ivy followed him with her gaze, trying to match the pieces of this impossible moment. Her little brother, usually scattered but harmless, now looking like a fugitive. He didn't look at her when he said, "If we stay here, they'll find you too." Ivy's heartbeat slowed, but the air in her lungs turned sharp. "Who's they?" No answer. She grabbed her keys, slipped on her coat, and shoved her feet into the first pair of shoes by the door. No time to argue. Not if the fear in his voice was real. The elevator ride down was silent. In the parking lot, Ivy glanced over her shoulder 3 times before unlocking her car. Brad was still looking around like he expected headlights to appear out of nowhere. In the driver's seat, she finally spoke again. "Start explaining." He didn't. Not yet. He just said, "Drive east." She did. The highway stretched out like a dark ribbon, glistening from the earlier rain. Ivy kept both hands steady on the wheel, eyes forward, jaw locked. The windshield wipers moved in rhythm, wiping away just enough to see the road, but not the questions fogging her mind. Brad sat beside her, hood still up, legs bouncing like a drumbeat of guilt. He hadn't said a word since they left her apartment. Just drive east. And she had. But Ivy didn't like driving blind. Not metaphorically. Not anymore. They stopped at a gas station around 3 a.m. Ivy handed Brad her card and told him to get snacks. While he disappeared into the store, she stayed by the pump, letting the cold air sharpen her thoughts. Something wasn't adding up. Brad had always been impulsive. He once got a tattoo in a garage from someone named Slick Steve. But this wasn't teenage chaos. This was fear. And fear, Ivy had learned, always came from something real. When he came back, she noticed his hands shaking as he passed her the receipt. "Talk," she said, still not looking at him. He hesitated, then sat down on the passenger side, door still ajar. "It's not like I killed someone or anything." She snapped her head toward him. That sentence only ever comes from people who are about to say something way worse. Brad sighed and leaned his head back. "There's this guy I worked for." Not directly, more like, in between. In between what? Things. Deliveries. Messages. Money. Ivy closed her eyes. "Brad. I didn't know what it was at first, okay? I thought it was just freelance courier work. I needed the cash." She didn't speak. He continued, voice lower now. "But last week, something went wrong. A drop didn't go where it was supposed to, and now they think I took it." "Took what?" "I don't know. I swear. It was just a black duffel. They told me not to open it." "And you didn't?" His silence was the only answer she needed. They pulled into a roadside motel before sunrise. Ivy paid cash. Room 206 had one bed, a broken lamp, and curtains that didn't quite close all the way. She didn't sleep. Instead, she sat in the vinyl armchair and opened her old laptop. If Brad wasn't going to give her names, she'd find them herself. She started digging, checking old emails, messages from the number Brad said had been contacting him. The area code was familiar. Too familiar. Then it hit her. She opened a folder she hadn't looked at in years. One she swore she had deleted more than once. Inside. A photo. A man. Dark coat. Cold eyes. Standing next to a black SUV with a dented bumper. She zoomed in on the plate. Matched it to a post Brad had been tagged in 6 weeks ago. Same car. Same man. Damien. Her chest tightened. The name felt like a bruise under her ribs. She hadn't heard it in almost a decade. And now her brother, her own brother, had unknowingly tangled himself in the same nightmare she barely escaped all those years ago. She stared at the screen. And then the motel phone rang. Brad stirred in bed, groggy. Who's calling? Ivy picked up the receiver slowly. No voice. Just a message, played on loop. You took something that wasn't yours. Both of you. She hung up, heart pounding. Brad was sitting up now. Who was it? She turned to him, her voice barely audible. The man you work for. His name is Damien. Brad's face went pale. Ivy didn't ask if he recognized the name. She could already see the answer in his eyes. They left the motel before daylight. Ivy didn't say much. She packed quietly, checked the hallway twice, and took the back stairs instead of the elevator. Brad followed without question. The silence between them wasn't empty, it was loaded. Brad now knew that Ivy recognized the man he'd feared. But he didn't ask questions. Maybe because he didn't want the answers. The car ride was shorter this time. Ivy drove with a purpose. She wasn't just trying to get away, she was looking for someone. A contact. Someone she hadn't spoken to in years. They reached the edge of a quiet industrial area, storage units, abandoned warehouses, and nothing else for miles. Ivy parked behind a rusted chain-link gate and stepped out. She told Brad to stay in the car. Why? He asked. Because this person doesn't like surprises. Especially twitchy ones. Inside the storage complex, Ivy walked past 3 units before knocking on a door with a dent shaped like a boot. After a long pause, it slid open a crack. A woman peeked out. Older, lean, cigarette in hand. Ivy, the woman said. I thought you were dead. I tried to be, Ivy replied. The woman's name was Maury. Once upon a time, she had been Damien's fixer. Now she sold used parts and secrets to anyone desperate enough. You need something? Information. And maybe a small weapon. Maury grinned without smiling. Still have taste. They stepped inside. Ivy lowered her voice. He's back, she said. Damien. Maury didn't react at first. She just flicked ash into a cracked mug. He was never gone. You just stopped looking. Ivy nodded. My brother's involved. I need a way out. Maury handed her a USB. Then give him what he wants. What's on it? Proof. Names. Money trails. The kind of thing that buries people. Is it real? Maury looked at her for the first time. Does it matter? Back at the car, Brad was pacing. I saw someone down the street, he said. He was watching us. Ivy glanced behind her. No one now. She held up the USB. You told me you didn't open the bag. I didn't, he insisted. Not that one. What do you mean, not that one? Brad swallowed. There were 2. The first time I delivered, it was fine. But the second one. I opened it. What was in it? A laptop. Password protected. Nothing special. But it had a sticky note inside. It said, you don't know her like I do. Ivy froze. She looked down at the USB. Then at Brad. Get in the car, she said. They drove through the day. No music. No talking. Around sunset, Ivy pulled off onto a quiet cliffside road overlooking the city. She pulled the USB from her pocket, turned to Brad and said, I need to tell you something. She told him about Damien. About how they met. How it started romantic. How it ended dangerous. About the lies, the threats, the one night she ran and never looked back. Brad just sat there stunned. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because you were a kid. And I wanted you to have a chance at a normal life. Well, that didn't work out. Ivy gave a tired laugh. Brad stared ahead. So what now? She looked down at the USB in her hand. Now we stop running. Brad turned to her, confused. How? We bait him. We make it look like we're going to trade this for our freedom. And we record everything. Brad blinked. Like a sting. Exactly. That night, Ivy sent a message to a name she hadn't typed in years. To Damien at Shadowline. ***. Subject: I have something you want. Meet me. No backup. No tricks. Or the file goes public. ***. A reply came 2 minutes later. Then I'll see you soon, Ivy. The meeting point was an empty construction site at the edge of the city. Half-built steel beams reached into the sky like frozen skeletons. Ivy chose the location for a reason. No cameras, no lights, and nowhere to hide without being seen. They arrived just after midnight. Ivy wore black, her hair tied back. Brad held the USB in his palm like it might burn him. "Stay in the car," she said. Brad hesitated. "You sure?" She nodded. "He came for me. Let's give him what he wants to see." She stepped out and walked into the open. The night was still. Then came the sound of tires on gravel. A black SUV pulled in slowly, headlights off. The same one from the old photo. The same one she'd last seen the night she ran. It stopped a few meters away. Damien stepped out. Same cold eyes. Same casual arrogance. "Ivy," he said. "You look alive. Can't say the same for your conscience." He smiled. Still sharp. She didn't move. "Let's keep this simple. I have something. You want it. But first, I need guarantees. No more threats. You leave my brother alone. You disappear." He tilted his head. "That's not how leverage works." Ivy pulled out her phone. "It is when we're not alone." She tapped the screen. From the corner of the site, a red light blinked, recording. Damien didn't flinch. He took 2 slow steps forward. "What's on that USB?" "Everything," she said. "Transactions, names, locations. Your entire network. Or at least enough to burn it." He raised an eyebrow. "Then why not go to the police?" "Because I want you to vanish, not be famous." He considered that. For the first time, something behind his eyes shifted. Maybe he believed her. Maybe he didn't. But he turned around, walked back to his car, and drove off. No words. No threats. Just silence. Back at the motel, Brad sat on the edge of the bed, still shaking. "Is it over?" Ivy sat beside him, staring at the USB. "He thinks it is." She placed the USB into a plastic bag, zipped it, and tucked it into the back of her boot. "What now?" Brad asked. "We disappear. New names. New state. Start over." Brad exhaled deeply. "You ever think he'll come back?" Ivy looked at him, then at the motel window. "If he does, I'll be ready this time." 3 weeks later, they were in another city. New apartment. New jobs. New phones. Ivy dyed her hair. Brad smiled more. They walked along a quiet pier one evening. Brad threw breadcrumbs to seagulls. Ivy sipped coffee. For the first time in a long time, they weren't running. Then Ivy's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Nice play, Ivy. But you still have something that's mine." She stared at the screen. No name. No reply. Just silence. But her hand tightened around the phone. And she kept walking, one step ahead.